So I'm just going to go ahead and say, you guys have shown out tonight. You all have really shown out. Thank you so much for the crowd that's in the house. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. Listen, Board of Trustees member Ms. Dunmire Wilson was not playing. She was not playing. When I tell you that she turned over every stone to make sure that she helped us get the word out that we were on the road to Hollywood, South Carolina, she did the thing. So let's give Ms. Dunmire Wilson a round of applause. Tonight is intentional, it's purposeful, and it's full of meaning. And this is possible because of individuals like Superintendent Huggins, who's among us this evening, our Board of Trustees member for the constituency that you all live in, Ms. Dunmire Roberson, and then the fabulous staff of CCSD that you are going to meet this evening. I'm not sure if you caught the rock stars on WJNI this morning, but listen, I think the three of us just need to take this show on the road. How many of you heard it this morning? All right, listen. Yes, you heard it. All right. And we even had some scholars email saying, Coakley, we heard y'all. I said, who recorded it so I can hear me too? And I think my mom called. And my mom said, I think I got the first 30 seconds, and then the doctor called, so I had to take that call. And I was like, okay. And then my dad texted, and he said, next, they said, please send it to me. Yes. And my dad sends this long dissertation through the text, and he says, next stop for the three of you, Pennsylvania Avenue. I said, oh, okay, thank you so much. And you guys know what that means when your parents have identified their expectations of you, right? No matter how much you want to say no, there's a yes, because that's the expectation. That's why I'm excited to be in the D23 area. The area where we know family matters, community matters, the scholars matters. And so the Department of School Support was intentional about making you all the final stop for this school. Because what we said on the radio is, school year's ended, but it's starting. Like next year's starting. So you guys are going to get some information today where you can start planning this summer so that you and your scholars are ready for August. And so we're going to start off by first bringing our person, the person for CCSD, who when I went to her and I said, I want to take CCSD on the road. I want to create space for scholars, parents, and our community members to engage. So that's how we identify it as SPaCE, giving you all space to share, for us to hear, and then for us to leave out of these meetings with immediate action steps of how we're going to support you. And when I went to Superintendent Huggins with this idea, she gave me a definitive yes. So on this evening, please welcome Superintendent Huggins.
Thank you, Dr. Coakley. She makes me sound a lot better than I really am. I can promise you that. So I want to thank you for such a warm welcome. I was too busy talking back there to some of my friends, and I don't know whether Dr. Coakley told you, but this is the best turnout we have had all season. So give your community a round of applause. So I want to publicly thank Mrs. Roberson, who represents you in this community so well on the Consolidated School Board. And you have a whole slew of constituent board members led by some great folks that I met with a little bit earlier and some wonderful folks here. So if you haven't had a chance to thank them for their service, serving on a constituent board is a tireless commitment. And please to thank them for all they give in working with children and helping make sure kids are well placed and trying to maintain as many students as they can right here at Baptist Hill Middle High School. So I've been around a long time, decades. And so I've spent a good bit of time in prior years out in Hollywood. I served really closely alongside Jim Winbush when he was here. and created a legacy of excellence for our Bobcats. Known Coach Brown for a long time, and I want to pledge to you that you will see me out here a lot more than you've seen me the last 9 months. It's been a rough 9 months. One of my friends right up here said, "Girl, you don't look like you look on that picture." I said, "I know. This place has aged me, Mr. Lewis. It has aged, sister. That artificial intelligence did a lot of good work on that picture. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm telling you right now." So I want to thank you for the welcome, and I want to tell you a little bit about my commitment to rural schooling. So, Mr. Hamer, he doesn't like to be associated with me a lot. Where are you, Mr. Hamer? There he is, right over there. Mr. Hamer doesn't tell often where he and I both grew up. I grew up in rural South Carolina. In fact, a little more rural than Hollywood. When I went to school in the morning times, I could smell the pig pen when I walked into the schoolhouse and the chicken coop when I left. And that ain't no lie, is it, Mr. Hamer? So, and I also at the same time, in knowing about facilities in rural communities, I also know firsthand, while I believe that I got a good education because my mother was a teacher in that school, as was Mr. Hamer's. Mr. Hamer was not well behaved when he was in 8th grade math. In Peggy Williams's class, who was my mother, God rest her soul, I was a lot better behaved when I was a 9th grade geography student in Miss Alfreda Hamer's class. And so, I'm not saying how smart I was, but I was well mannered. But nonetheless, outside of facilities and opportunities, I know that sometimes rural schools don't have access and opportunity because the school that Steve and I grew up in, which was rural South Carolina, didn't have but 2 or 3 AP courses compared to some places Mr. Strawman served as a principal out down in Myrtle Beach, where they hosted and could boast a lot more. So I want you to understand that although my picture looks a lot fancier on that page, I'm really not quite that fancy. And I know what it's like to live in a rural community. It's wonderful. It's the fabric. My mama opened the choir room door at the local church, and my daddy shut it. So growing up, I would never change my upbringing for anything because it's the fabric of who I am and of how I raise my children, and it's what I love about my life. But I also know some of the challenges associated with not having the access and opportunity that other places might have. So I want you to know, while I sit in the superintendent's seat, for how long that might be, and that it's not been a long history for most recent superintendents. I don't know how long that'll be, but for ever long it is, I know that I'm committed to serving and to serving well. So you will see me more often. I will make sure your schools have access and opportunity, that I'm committed to the work that Ms. Timoni is leading at Minnie Hughes, and to this sweet Miss Logan at Jane Edwards. I'm sorry Mr. Drayton couldn't be here. Our prayers continue to be with him as he recovers. To Mr. Dallas, we will continue to serve and continue to serve well. I'm going to talk a lot because I was raised in a rural community, and my mama said, talk less, do more. So I want you to know that I'm committed to doing, and that I hope that you will judge our work and my work by the fruit of what we produce. And I'm committed to doing that 110%. I want to save some time before your official meeting starts to give you a chance to ask me questions. Ms. McIntyre, thank you for your service so well in this community. Ms. Alex, very well deserved accolades for her, Mr. James, and the various people who serve here. So Mr. Douglas is here, and he is taking some notes, and so I'm not writing, but somebody is. So if you have questions, concerns, feedback, this is a safe space. I don't easily take offense, so speak your truth. Let us capture your truth, and if I need to follow up on things, I will do that. So who wants to go first? And I know somebody wants to go first. Please do.
Okay, So understanding with the budget cut that we lost a lot of resources, like Ms. McIntyre is not going to be in the school anymore, Ms. Nez is not going to be in the school anymore. Knowing how like strategic you guys have to do our budget to accommodate the basic essentials, but losing resources and interventionists are like sucking down. Are you trying to bring it back in or trying to revitalize to where we can keep resources that can help us to grow? Understanding change doesn't happen overnight. COVID is just now getting over roughly that 3 to 4 years, and we're just now seeing an improvement. What can you assure us that we can get back?
This young woman here serves on your constituent board, so if you haven't patted her on the back, make sure you do. Very great question. It was. I hope you heard it. How are we going to ensure we keep resources where resources are needed? We're committed to doing that. So we're hopeful that you won't lose quite everything that you just mentioned that you fear you're losing. And we've instituted this weighted student formula, which gives resources to schools based on need. And Baptist Hill did earn a considerable wallet. Ms. Timoni earned a wallet. Ms. Logan earned a wallet. Mr. Dallas. And so what we've had to do is be strategic about the things that we've maintained in that wallet that we know improve student outcomes, that we know give back to students in a large way. So I'm committed. For example, Mr. James, where did you go, Farrakhan? There you are, right back there. So I've committed to supporting out of my budget. Although we've tried to rid ourselves of overlays, Mr. James' position, for example, he is a position that Baptist Hill doesn't necessarily earn. But out of my budget, I'm supplying that. We're also working with Mr. Drayton on academics and shoring up academics to make sure he has the academic support that he needs as he focuses with Coach Brown and others on community building and facilities and athletics. And so the answer is the way the student formula should help. We're looking specifically at resources at Baptist Hill and how to maintain some of the support that we've had despite the losses. And as we ascertain what additional things you need, we can see what additional support we can provide. We're hopeful that this budget in the weighted student formula, though, provides continuity of resources post-ESSER, and it has in most instances. And I've actually met with Mr. Drayton one-on-one to talk about that to make sure he's got what he needs. And so I'll reconnect with him next week. Okay? So thank you for that, Mr. Douglas. I don't know where Mr. Douglas went, but he's taking notes. Thank you. Thank you for that honest question. Other questions? Reverend Glover? You don't really need this microphone, I know, but I'm bringing it to you anyway.
I have one question. On the 2024-25 school year, as far as the early childhood program, is there going to be additional funding for those that are on the waiting list? Or how are we going to go about getting those students enrolled in the school for the early childhood program? I mean, instead of having them waiting another year.
So Reverend Glover, that is a great question, because so what we're trying to do district-wide is expand early childhood district-wide to get all the kids off the waiting list. So Mr. Douglas, if you'll capture so I can get back with the constituent board and you all, the number of kids on your waiting list. Do you all know, Ms. Timoni, right off, what sort of numbers you have on your waiting list About 20. So I'll get with Ms. Foxworth and provide you specific numbers. We're expanded in the general operating fund about $6 million for early childhood district-wide. And what we do every year after the 10th day, Reverend Glover and all, is we look at where we have waiting lists and where we can open classes. Like Ms. Timoni and Ms. Logan would probably tell you, is we're limited in some places by the physical space because there's not classrooms that DHEC will approve. So we've also worked with Mr. Broey on that. But let me make priority numbers here in District 23 and circle back with you on that. Okay? I'll do that. Because again, as all of you know, early education is key to growth and achievement of children. And early intervention in the home, as Dr. Frazier can tell you, is certainly pivotal in making changes for outcomes for kids. So early education, Reverend Glover, we'll circle back with you. Ms. Davis.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. We have been allocated funds for a auditorium here at Baptist Hill. Do you have any idea when that should begin?
Mr. Hamer, do you know when that is in the building, when the building plan, the auditorium? I'm gonna bring it to you, Mr. Hamer.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I think the question was about the Performing Arts Center or the new auditorium that was being built. We are looking at planning and putting in a location for that. One of the things my office is doing is finding the right location for that. We're doing some studies that's looking at where it would go best on the campus, but we are still a ways before, we have some dates on when it will actually be completed. But that's a priority, as Mrs. Huggins has pointed out, in terms of providing facilities here. But we're just not at the point now where we know exactly when we're going to be breaking ground on that. That's right. That's a separate topic. I'm glad I get the opportunity to do that. Just again to reintroduce myself, my name is Steve Hamer. I'm the Associate for Facilities Management. So I'm in charge of all of the maintenance and repair that goes on and some special projects on campus here. The question was about one of the things that we're going to be doing for upgrading the football field. And as of tomorrow, we're actually going to begin work on installing a new turf field at the stadium there. And so that's going to begin here in the next couple of days, and we're going to be able to finish that in time for the first home game. The contractor, the contractor was clear-eyed in telling me that's what they were going to do. So we're going to say again. We're going to have a new turf field installed in time in time for the first home game. Now we've also got a couple of other projects that we're going to be able to execute this summer that I think will make attending the games a little bit better. On the home side, we're going to put in some aluminum benches, which will make it a little bit easier to sit out there. And for special people, we'll have the kind of the stadium seating, like you see people who are part of booster clubs and so forth put in there. So I'm very confident that we're going to be able to bring all of those on board before our first home game. Also putting some additional seating on the visitor side. What I'd offer for you to do before you leave, I've laid out there on the foam boards over there on the left side there, kind of a master plan, if you will, of phases that we have laid out for athletic improvements here. We have over the next several years, from a facility maintenance standpoint, over $7 million, or close to $7 million of investments that we have for this campus here. The majority of it is going to be athletic facilities, and that includes some planning of what we might be able to do to improve the softball field out at the Schroeder campus. So I'm very excited about it. I'm really happy to be working with an athletic committee and Mr. Strauderman and Mr. Drayton on coming up with a way forward on it. But again, the thing that we're going to be delivering the quickest is the new turf field, as well as the upgrade to the stadium. So I'm really excited about that. Any questions for me before I turn it back over? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. And so Steve and Mr. Strauderman and Mr. Baroe have been keeping me updated as of late on these advancements, so know that we're committed to developing a timeline, and despite unforeseen circumstances, keeping on that timeline. We really like to see things through, and we know that's important to the community. So we'll put the question to Mrs. Davis about the auditorium on the FAQ sheet that we're developing that we'll send back out, because I'm not one for people to ask questions and we not be able to provide. It sounds like there's a ETA. The answer is ETA, but we'll still capture it so that we don't lose track of it and so that I'm aware of it. Okay. So thank you for that. What other? I think we actually have an online question, which I'll say is a first.
Yes.
So go ahead, Dr. Coakley.
So I'm going to read this question, and we may want to just take notes and come back with a response. So the question from Mr. Grant: are there any resources for a renewed program of adult education?
That's a great.
Yes, it is.
So I recently met with Susan Friedrich about adult education in the district, and so Mr. Douglas, if you'll capture that, we'll circle back so that you all have access to that and can circulate it within the community. Susan and I met at length with Rich Gordon about adult ed services, and she detailed for me what all we have. And I need to check Mr. Drayton and see what expansions might be meaningful for this community. It might be needed here in this community. I know we offer resources across the district, but in rural areas, it's sometimes difficult for people to get there, right? So I certainly understand that. I hear you. I hear you. So Mr. Douglas has captured it for me, and we will follow up with adult ed. What other questions do you, and thank you, Mr. Grant. Was Mr. Grant that asked? Oh, Eric. Oh, hey, Eric. I'm glad you're watching. Who, other questions? Ms. Davis, ask away.
I could do this for hours, okay? But what? Um, is there a possibility of funding for the beautification of Baptist Hill? When you come to the front office, it's not appealing. And it doesn't seem to be a hard thing to do, but it's been like that forever. Is it possible for funding to get our school beautified like some of the other schools?
I understand, Ms. Davis, that the front office is the first thing people see, and it either turns them on or turns them off. It's like Ms. Roberson said a while ago, it's important for the community to be able to see what's to come here, right? So, Mr. Douglas, capture that, and I'll talk with the CFO to see what, and to Mr. Drayton, about what he has in the budget for landscaping facilities, and I'll talk to, it sounds like more of a capital issue than the front, but we'll see what we can do. We will see what we can do and circle back with you on that. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Absolutely. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Are you gonna make sure that we have some continuity here at Baptist Hill? We already went through 4 or 5 different principals in the past 3 years. What we want to look at is that some continuity here at Baptist Hill, because it's not only affecting the parents, it's the main thing is our kids.
Can I get an amen on that? So I believe the longest standing principal for here for any period of time was Bush. And since then, we've had a lot. I was about to say 8, but you're right. Absolutely. 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 So the answer to that is yes. Mr. Drayton and I don't think you would mind me sharing this. He and I recently had a very, we had a sit-down conversation about my commitment to growing him right here at Baptist Hill in this community. Because continuity, there's a lot of research about stability of leadership, needed leadership. Mr. Young and I have had conversations about Mr. Drayton's effectiveness here at the school and working with the community. So I'm committed to growing Mr. Drayton here at Baptist Hill as a leader. What's important to me is that all of our leaders are not only great with the community, but they're great with kids and they're great with academics. And so what I've also planned to do with Mr. Drayton is support academics in a very strategic and thoughtful way. And I won't share any more details about that here. I'm not trying to be not transparent, but it's Mr. Drayton's. He's really excited about the plans around which he's collaborated with me to fortify academics in this school. And so I want him to be able to share those things with the community and with his teachers. But so I'm committed to growing him here in the community. And I'm committed to making sure he's got the support he needs in the middle school, because this is a challenge. We only have a few campuses like this in CCSD. So he needs extra support. And I'm committed to growing the academic leadership as well. And so more info to come on that, but as long as Mr. Drayton is committed and this is where he wants to be, and I believe it is, it's what he's told me, I'm committed to.
So what is it?
And I'm sorry?
What is his status?
So his current status is interim principal, and we will post that position, and he will go back through that hiring process. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but there is a HR process. But again, I'm committed to Mr. Drayton, and I'm committed to growing Mr. Drayton here. And that's, for me to say that publicly, that I've said that publicly in front of 75 new friends, many of whom, some of whom have been friends for a long time. So we are committed to doing that. Okay?
He's here, so I'm quite sure everybody's satisfied with what he's doing. president being on campus will be pretty much support the principal.
And I'm glad you did. And Big Young, seated here, has been part of this community in collaboration with Baptist Hill and its feeder pattern. And he has let me know the same thing. Mrs. Roberson has let me know that. Several other people inside of this room have let me know that. And you've let me know that too now, Reverend Glover.
I don't know if the board people support him.
I think you and I see other constituent board members kind of nodding too. So I appreciate knowing that, and I know he'll appreciate that, knowing that too.
Superintendent Huggins,
Yeah.
I'm right here. I keep moving.
Where are you?
Right here.
You
Y'all see how skinny I'm getting? She can't even see me. I love it.
Thinking that a while ago. Talk about how skinny you get.
Listen. So I want to expand on that, Superintendent Huggins, so we would be able to even have a little bit more information. So one thing that Superintendent Huggins had us to do, and some of you all have seen us, we were out here for about a week. One week, and we went through every classroom. Because you asked about the staff members. So what about the staff? We were able to observe all the classrooms for the most part. There was a field trip the day that we actually conducted observations. But each day that week, where Superintendent Huggins said, clear schedules, let's go out to Baptist Hill, figure out what we need to further support the school. We did that for an entire week, where we looked at the staff, we looked at the curriculum that was being implemented. We talked with students. The students told us what they would like to see for next year, and that's where that action plan of further support and development for Baptist Hill came from. When we were asked to come out and just spend that week. Coach Brown saw me in the hallway, and I ain't gonna tell y'all everything Coach Brown said to me, but he wanted to know why was I here, what was going on, and what help did I need.
You better keep that stuff to yourself.
Right? I was like, nothing, just here getting to know the community. Ms. Tawana Brown was present on that day, working and meeting with students as well. And so we are intentional, as Superintendent Huggins said, in making sure that we not only support the administrators at the building, but also make sure the staff, like you asked about, are supported with whatever needs.
So Dr. Coakley, I appreciate you providing those specifics. Thank you. So I do want you, and I'm gonna get another question right here, but I want you to hear this from me. I'm always going to make decisions that I believe are in the best interest of kids. Now, those decisions will not always be, they won't always be popular. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, some of y'all going to be mad with me every now and again. I don't know of any reason you're going to have to be, but we're adults and we're not always going to agree. But I'm interested in hearing your voice and talking to you about my logic behind decisions, but I'm also not an authoritarian sort of leader who dictates. I make decisions in collaboration with other people, and I want kids. And I want what's best for kids in Baptist Hill's classrooms. And I'm committed to doing that. The times I've been out here, I've seen great things, but in our actions the last few weeks, I think our actions show our commitment to making sure kids have the best. And we go in every school. So I go in the Lucy Beckhams and I go in the Wandos. And so when I walk in a classroom in Beckham, I want to make sure that when I come to Baptist Hill, I'm seeing the same quality instruction that I'm seeing other places. Now we might hit a few bumps in the road to get there now. We might hit a few bumps in the road, but if you'll stick with me and try to let my actions show, we might not always agree. And I say this to just about every community. We might not always agree. We will get there. Okay? So together we will.
So I have 3 questions back to back. One, so we're talking about Baptist. Saying I'm a parent of feeder schools, so we have our 3 feeder schools that feeds into Baptist. I also follow all development in our area. I don't think I'm the youngest in here, but as being one of the youngest to sit on the constituent school board, what can CCSD do to help us with our teachers? Our teachers may work out here, but they don't make enough to live out here. Could we get something, and I understand they didn't have like a stipend or something, could we get something extra are implemented for rural areas, because once again, rural area, we could grandfather in this, grandfather in that. What can we give our teachers extra to keep them? Because if I love my job, granted, I love my job, I want to do it, but if I'm not making enough to sustain and I'm traveling an hour, 45, it's just unfeasible. And we want to keep our teachers, like when I grew up, I had the same teachers from middle school, throughout my whole middle school, high school, it was more consistency. Right now, we talk about closing the achievement gap, but when my kids start off in sixth grade in the middle school, and they have one English teacher by halfway through the year, they got another teacher. By the time they get to eighth grade, and I got my new fifth graders coming, now I'm meeting another teacher. It's like when you have consistency, it's better. So are we considering a rural stipend strictly for rural teachers, or some type of housing incentive? I did take the initiative of reaching out to DR Horton and Stephanie McKay in regards to what can DR Horton building in Ravenel do for my teachers that work out here, do for my first responders that are working out here. So what is it that CCSD could incorporate with, and when I say St. Paul, because we always say Adams Run or Ravenel, Megan, the St. Paul district, what could be implemented through CCSD?
That's a really great question, and thank you for taking that initiative to work with DR Horton and Partners. So,
They want to come to us, like you have to give us or meet us somewhere and work with your life.
you gotta meet us halfway. Yeah, you gotta meet us halfway. So just last year, this same concern was brought to our attention, and we went to HR and took a look at the rural travel stipend and increased it just last year. And our board has committed to increasing teacher pay by $7,500 this year, which we hope will provide some consistency in teachers, but we also hope that it will provide some consistency in classified employees, because whereas, out here, our classified employees are a little more stable. In other areas of the district, it's not. And we're beginning to see, even in the more rural areas, that our classified employees are turning over and over and over. Just last week, I met with the chamber and some folks around affordable housing for teachers and employees. I met again with the chamber today, which is one reason I didn't get to call Ms. Roberson back, and she asked me to do this morning. I'm sorry for that, Ms. Roberson. But I met with folks about affordable housing and those sorts of things today. So it's a new day. I'm from a rural area, and we're thinking outside of the box about how we do things for people that have maybe historically not been served like other areas of the district. So we will. Now, you said you had 3 questions, but that was only one. So I'm going to give next question. Okay, yeah. Okay, do it.
So I'll balance this curriculum that we have, and we got to go the achievement gap. Have the big board take into consideration to review, because I've also looked through the substance study.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about role change and improvement.
Yep.
Are we implementing what the findings were from the substance study?
From the disparity study.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also, have we compared this core curriculum that they are implementing for the standards in which our teachers teach? Does this curriculum prepare our kids for this test? Because from my research and speaking to other educators, we will never close that gap because we're not meeting the kids where they are to get them the basic fundamentals.
Great question. So the first piece of that is we have to keep the gap from ever growth. We have to keep the gap from ever being created. And so that goes back to Mrs. Davis's question, Reverend Glover's question about early childhood and the importance of getting kids off the waiting list, the importance of getting kids in front of quality teachers. We do believe, we've had great success with EL, the reading curriculum over the course of the last 3 years. And we've seen the gap, the gap close between white students and black and brown students. But we've got a long way to go. And so what we believe is that this weighted student funding formula is not, an end all be all. It's going to fix it overnight, but that it's going to give schools the resources they need to use the curriculum that we have to grow kids at a rapid rate, meaning 1.5 to 2 years in a year. We are optimistic that the Amplify CKLA curriculum that the board recently unanimously passed we will see commensurate gains with that EL. And Vic can speak to some of the work around the science of reading that we've done in District 23 specifically. He's led a lot of those efforts out here to do just that. Vic, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just did. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? Please, thank you. This is Vic Young. He has worked in partnership with me for quite some time, about 18 months.
Probably about 2 years or so.
Maybe 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. And it's amazing. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, and this was put on the spot. I had no clue this was. But no, the science of reading, and I don't know how much anybody should have been exposed to it, but there was a lot of research done going back 30 years on what really led to how the brain functioned and how you really, what was effective in teaching children, particularly Black and brown children, but all children, how to read. And there was a big, I call it a come to Jesus moment, the late 1990s, when the federal government and a bunch of research scientists and universities formed what was the Reading Council, and they took a look at probably 100,000 pieces of research and boiled it down to really a set of really sort of objectives and some areas of focus that were requirements for teaching reading, and realized that most schools in America didn't do it. That there was this gap of most schools didn't do it, and particularly our community as well. So we began this effort probably in the late 1990s going into the 2000s, and I just happened to be very involved in that research when we brought neuroscientists together with educators. What practices worked? So I'm going to fast forward so I don't talk too much, but what we've been doing over the past year or so, both that, and we're about to infuse this Baptist Hill, but we've been working at the feeder schools and the elementaries first at really impacting how teachers approach teaching so that they can effectively integrate these evidence-based, research-based practices into the teaching of reading out here in P23. And actually, there are places around the country where I can point you to where the results have been astonishing. Let's just put it that way. But we are implementing those practices here right now, and these principals here they're right over at this table. They've been really driving this work, and there's a lot happening in summer to support it, and it's really. But is that too much?
Perfect, thank you, Vic. It's perfect.
That's
No, yeah, sorry about that, Vic. I'll apologize later. But so about 2 years ago, Mr. Dallas came to me and said, we'd really like to get something, Anita. This was when I was the deputy superintendent. We'd really like to get something going with ESSER money as a feeder pattern project out in District 23. And I said, okay, Mr. Dallas, I'm happy to help you. What do you have in mind? That's when I hooked up with Vic and asked Vic if he would help put together a plan with Ashland and Jarmala and Mr. Dallas and at the time, Mr. DeYoung, to focus on doing just what you just asked, closing the gap, focusing on the science of reading, providing wraparound supports for kids and families, focusing on early childhood. And I'll be honest, the plan hit a couple of bumps because for whatever reason, adult reasons that have now been rectified. Just, I promise you, they have been rectified. But we're moving forward with that plan and have provided funds through our general operating fund now to make sure that kids get what they need in District 23. So I didn't go into all those details before, but I'll share that we feel really good about the progress that we're making in collaboration with partners to help support some of the work. You got one more.
My final question is, so
Just easiest one.
I don't know, however you take it. So my final question is, so we talk about our teachers, we talk about our admin staff. We can't forget like our resource officers, our nurses. I was recently informed that one of our head nurses I think she's retiring. So our current nurse that's her assistant, shouldn't we like sort of hire or promote within that has that connection, that knows the kids? Even with our resource officer, one of them are not returning. We need consistency. So are we already working to fill that gap? So come August, we have a resource officer. Are they going to implement and be working in the community before school starts? So school shouldn't be the first time that the kids see who they are.
Absolutely.
And like prime example is being like a young lady. Do you feel comfortable going to any nurse? Are you going to be open? So I feel like when that relationship is already there, I have a child that has epilepsy and another one that is diabetic. This particular nurse in particular may know my child more better than their teacher or any staff. consistency and taking consideration of who we have and working with them who have already built that trust and relation in our community.
So I didn't know you were losing your nurse, but Mr. Douglas, if you'll capture that, I'll follow up with Ellen Nance tomorrow. So I don't know I don't know what the plans are. You'll find out if you don't know me already, and many of you do, very honest. I don't know. Let me follow up about the nurse. I need to follow up with Mr. Reidenbach about the SRO. I didn't know that either, but you're right. The support people in a building are critical to its success. That's why we prioritize pay in regards to retention of these folks and trying to get them to stay on. But we will look into it. We will look into it. It will be on the FAQ document. We'll type up a document with all these comments, questions, concerns. I'll respond. I'll have staff respond in a very black and white way, because I'm committed to doing that, and we'll share that information out with you all as a constituent board so you can share it with your community. Okay, thank you for that. I know you've got a question too. And Dr. C, I'm sorry I'm taking some of your time, but I'll take one more if that's okay. Is that okay, Dr.?
No, you're fine, because we also, you guys are good.
I'm gonna go to facilities. We have an aging school. One of our buildings is at least 50 years old. So what plans, or is there a plan in place to either replace or renovate our buildings? Lucy Beckham's brand new, C.E. Williams is brand new. We have a new charter school on Bees Ferry. So what is the district doing for us? Because our buildings are aging.
I don't know, but I'll find out. Steve, you want to stand up? I don't know if Baptist Hill is in the capital. Steve, can you tell? Yeah, poor Steve.
This wing houses sixth graders, and then that wing houses high schoolers.
Yes.
And there are kids who sit in that building, they don't know if they're going to be cold today, no, freezing today, or hot today. So.
Which neither do I, but I'm just at that age. I'm just gonna put that out there. I know what you mean. I know.
You know, that building is 50. The one that we're in is probably at least 30, because it was here when I wasn't here. So what are we doing? I mean, where are we in the scheme of things getting some retro or new buildings?
Well, ma'am, I can tell you right now, we don't have any immediate plan to demolish and build new here. There are some plans for always doing those key things that need to be done to keep the maintenance of the building going. Replacing the roof, which we've done recently, replacing the HVAC, which we've done recently, although you pointed out, I know for a fact we've had 37 AC calls this school year, so I know it's been a challenge. The only thing I can say is there's no immediate plan to demolish and build new here. As projects come up, we have the ability for some renovations through our fixed cost of ownership to do things, but just a short answer is that no immediate plan for a new building there.
We'll soon be, so thank you for that honest, transparent answer, Steve. We'll soon be planning for a new capital building program, which lasts 6 years. And so we'll make sure, Mr. Burley's out of the office this week, but we'll make sure that he knows this question came up, because all facilities will be considered in that next capital plan, right, Steve? I'm not as familiar with the steps of that. Again, in complete transparency, but we'll capture it. Mr. Douglas has it, and we'll provide follow-up on it. Thank you again, Steve. So I think Dr. Coakley wants me to stop talking now, but I want to thank you for being such a warm, receptive audience, for welcoming me into your community, and for allowing me to come back, and I will be back. If you need me, I respond to emails regularly at all sorts of hours, because I can't get to all of them. Vic knows that. Sometimes I text him at weird times. I hope Miss Young, his ringer's off. But I promise to be responsive. So if you need me, please reach out directly to me. You can always do that. Thank you again, Dr. Coakley.
Thank you. And I would never cut Superintendent Huggins off. Thank you. Thank you. But we definitely have one more individual we want to get before you all because we know how precious your time is. And we also know that individuals like Superintendent Huggins and Ms. Dunmire Roberson may not always be available. So I want to pass our mic over to your Board of Trustees member, Mrs. Darlene Dunmire Roberson.
Good evening, everyone. The Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. I proudly serve you as your Board of Trustees representative on Charleston County School Board. Those of you that's been following me, you know that I'm very passionate. I'm very intentional because it's been a long time coming. Yes. I promise to be your voice and that you will no longer be the tail, but the head. That I will be your voice and you will not be an echo anymore. In 17 months, we've gotten a lot. So let me thank Superintendent Huggins. I have to say, there's not been anything that I have asked for that they've said no to. Everything that you have asked and I have asked on your behalf, we have gotten it. Not just in District 23, but also in District 9. So for me, I believe that God is watching us. And I believe, as I've always said, that he's brought me back home for such a time as this. Let me thank you. Tomorrow, I will be 60 years old. You have blessed me by coming out tonight to let the district know that you are serious about your community. So I thank you for that. I thank you for coming out, for asking intentional questions, for asking informed questions, because that's the only way that we will grow. So thank you for that. If you have any questions for me, I would probably answer. I am so, let me just say, tickle pink and peacock happy about the $7,500 raise that we are about to approve for our teachers. The 100% market value that we are going to finally bring our classifieds up to. They've been asking since 2014, and we are finally going to do that. I feel confident that the board will do that. Last year we did $5,000. This year we are doing better. So we are moving in the right direction. Good leadership make these type things happen. Any questions for me? I know that you didn't come to hear my voice. It was so good to have the district to come out because oftentimes we are forgotten in the rural areas. And they need to know that we pay taxes too. That's right. We may not have 15% of the tax base, and that's okay. But we do pay taxes. And I do believe that they are respecting that by coming out here and engaging with us. So is there any questions that you have for me as your Board of Trustee? I don't think Mr. Douglas is going to take notes for me, but I will answer. Any questions for me? Mr. Glover.
On the 24-25 school term, I know this year there going to be a turnover of teachers. So how are we preparing ourselves for recruiting for the next school term that's coming up? Are they going to be recruiting from the schools or?
Member Glover, it's a great question you asked. I'm going to jump in here if that's all right, because Mrs. Roberson might not know as much about the latest turnover. I'm really proud to share, I actually spoke to the DHRO today, that we have less turnover in our rural schools than ever before, and we have more people in the pipeline. We're trying to do our very best, recruit diverse teachers who look like the communities they serve, and even for people that they don't look like, that they can add value and give back to the communities regardless in the area that they serve. And so things are looking good here at Baptist Hill Middle High School in regards to retention. I think that goes to consistency of leadership, knowing that Mr. Drayton's going to continue to be here, the support that we're planning to provide with academics, the work Mrs. McIntyre has led in this community. And so we feel really good about it, sir, particularly compared to where we've been in past years. So thank you for the question. We will capture it. If Mr. Douglas left, I'll type it. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Reverend Glover.
Any more questions for me?
I have a question.
These constituent board members.
So understanding that we had 2 school closures in the previous, which is R.D. Schroeder and C.C. Blaine. R.D. Schroeder is now considered to be Park and Recreation, which I reached out to Mr. Warren as to how we could facilitate more and utilize more of the space and not just a portion of it. As far as C.C. Blaine is concerned, I'm hearing Mr. Glover talk about early childhood and Mr. Mooney and those with spacing wise that SDHEC approved for it. So in consideration of the services that is rendered to the community at Many Hughes, would it be considered at any time to utilize the school that we already have built here for our community?
And I will call Mr. Hamer.
Thank you, Ms. Roberson. So we're looking at how we might use C.C. Blaney in a variety of different ways. And I'll just leave that right there, but we'll capture that. We've looked at it and we've looked at some partners who might help us utilize it in a variety of ways. So I'll leave it right there, but know that I remember when Schroeder and Blaney were both fully functional schools. As you might know, our CAO, our Chief Michelle Simmons, was actually the principal at Blaney. That's not the first time I've got to know her, but she was the principal at Blaney years and years ago. So we know it's there. We've had conversations in the past year about utilization of it for various things, for youth sports, and I'll just stop right there before I get into too much, but it's on our radar. Okay? It's on our radar. Anything else from Ms. Roberson?
Or just a comment, to think about piggybacking off one of your questions. When we're talking about support staff, I don't think we should leave out day quarters, and I think you all need to consider every time you change a contracting company, they start at 0 again, sick time, maybe retirement. And I think that impacts our community, and that they have to work more than maybe one job, and we want to know whether or not at home with their children. And so I think that we should also consider all members of our staff, not that the ones that mentioned are super important, but I often wonder, if you were to work at a school for 25 years and then retire, retirement, you can't afford the time you got to buy a shirt every time you have a contracting company. But there's a lot of, I think, hidden expenses that we don't think about. And I think overall, way out here, there's not a lot of places to work, so I can't easy for a lot of things that happen. Nice to see everyone. I'm Miss Papa, and I have had the pleasure of living and serving your community since 2001. So, thank you. Thank you for that. It's just something that you just sometimes don't think about. Yeah, absolutely.
There are no people unsupported in education system. Everybody, particularly educators, contribute to the cleanliness of our schools, and still about our schools, and how they respond based on it. So, kids in a dirty school don't feel really good about their school or themselves. So I appreciate that a lot. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. I'm used to sub here, and I heard that you all on the radio this morning, so I was wondering.
Yeah, Ms. Roberson got me slung on the radio this morning.
Thank you, that's the reason why I'm here.
I'm glad you are.
I'm friends with Ms. Grant.
Oh, you better not tell that.
I'm in the letter program now, a classified employee. And as I look around and see the children here, there are a couple of things I would like to leave with you. Everyone is a teacher. And I just want to say for the children that are here and on their behalf, hopefully, that try to prevent the summer slide this summer. Because if we don't continue to teach what the teachers have already taught, they're going to come back being behind once again. So I'm in the letters program. One thing about it, I've learned that every child's brain is different. We've received messages from the back of the brain and those messages that come to the front are not always the same. So we have work to do. We have work to do, and I'm so glad to be able to come back here today. Thank you.
We're glad you're here. And if I gave the microphone back to Vic Young, he could talk for days about letters, so I won't. But you're spot on. And before we came in here, Coach Brown talked to me about the need for summer programming for kids. So just want to make sure you all know that. Anything else from Ms. Roberson? Yes, sir.
My name is Councilman Andy Miles from town Hollywood. And I just want to commend you all so much for working with the municipalities, from municipalities in the town of Hollywood, Edgestowe, Ravenel, and May. It means so much to us that y'all working with our government in our town, and we love it. And I appreciate it. Y'all continue. Please keep us involved with what is going on.
It's going to take all of us. It's going to take kids are everywhere achieve at high levels. It's going to take government working with partners, working with the school district, working with everybody. Speaking of great partners, everyone right here. It's going to take on this. I do not recognize you. I shouldn't have. But I apologize for giving them a lot of mistakes.
So we do have an online question. Mr. Young, how can our local schools and local library partner more fruitfully to help parents and other community adults sharpen their literacy skills so that to help them better help our scholars?
Oh my God. What a question, and that is a great question. Thank you for asking it. I could go on too long for how that could happen, so I won't start now, but there's no question that reading, we can make this community into a reading community. Everything that we do as adults, our kids are watching us do, and whether they act like it or don't, they are watching us do it. And the extent to which they see us reading in barbershops, reading in church, reading at home, we read to them, we ask them about reading, we take them places where they have access to books that they can access and read, they will begin to read. And there is, and again, I can wax forever, as Anita said, on this topic, but there are so many things that we can do to actually create a culture of reading. And that is, Frederick Douglass, who was one of my great heroes, basically says, look, reading, he was free when he learned to read. And no one can ever enslave him again. That is true for every human on earth. But we can set the stage for our kids. Read, bring them books, get books for them, talk to people in libraries about level books. And what those are books that are really appropriate roughly for their grade level, and just and read them with your kid. Have them read them and ask them about it. And let them watch you read. But again, I'm talking too much. But this is my passion area. So thanks for the question.
And let me also say, on behalf of the Learning Services Department and under Michelle Simmons, when you see them in parades, they don't give out candy, they're giving out books. So that's a big push. And so you've seen they started in the Christmas parade downtown. They did it here in Hollywood parade and again on Edgestowe. So we're decided that we're not going to give candy, we're giving books. So thanks to the Learning Services Department. Any more questions for me or sort of not me?
That's what I wanted to say. Why can't you just come together with a program that we had before? Because pretty much Union School was one of the only schools in Charleston County that closed the achievement gap for 10 consecutive years, because I served as PT vice president. And for me to say this and why I said that it's a program that works, because my son came through mid-Hughes
and he was in the 4th grade, but he was on the 8th grade level. And I wanted him to advance, but his mom said, no, just need to pass your graduated classes. But that program works because each child have to read 10 books during the summer and give a report. That works, and it's a proven fact that it works because he graduated an honor student all the way through school. So it works, but it takes us to make it work.
I'll go back to Ms. Simmons on that. Thank you so much for that, Reverend Glover.
Any other questions?
We have our representative just walk through the door here.
Mayor Murray, thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming very, very much. Thank you. Please. You're welcome to ask anything you like.
What are you doing to help retain the teachers or PBS?
That is a great question. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Our board has just approved a $7,500 pay increase. We are working on, we just increased the rural travel stipend out in this rural area for folks who are traveling here. We're trying to provide consistency of leadership with Mr. Drayton. A lot of these things contribute to a positive work environment. We're also prioritizing employee daycare. It won't come to Hollywood next year, but it will be one of the areas that is prioritized so that teachers and employees can bring their kids, they can have daycare here, and that sort of helps them as they grow their own children. So the question is about trades in the schools. So Baptist Hill has access to the Center for Advanced Studies, but what's complicated in Apostle Ford, we should have just recognized everybody who serves. Apostle Ford, who serves on our D9 out in Johns Island, our D9 constituent board, she's the chair there, was on a committee just this morning about aligning start times for D9, D10, and D23 so that more students have access and opportunity to take advantage of all the career clusters that we have at the centers. And we're doing our best to make sure the entry-level courses are available in our high schools. It's all right. I can come out and meet with you too. So, and I mean, I'd be happy to do that. Well, can we add that to our list, please? We'll reach out. Yeah, they're looking good. I don't know how much each wallet is for the weighted student formula, but their budgets are larger than they've ever been before. Yes, ma'am. This might have to be our last question, or Dr. Coakley keeps giving me the eye. So, and listen, one person you don't want to have is use Dr. Coakley. So I'm just.
It's not a question. It's a comment. The superintendent is out here doing her level best to help this area. What are we doing to help our area? It's not one-sided. What she is trying to help us with is things that she inherited. These things that have been going on for years and years. I've been with the district long enough. I have traveled to every school in this district except Mount Pleasant Academy in the internal audit department. So I know what I've seen and I know what is going on. Nothing's new. We need to get in here with the superintendent and the trustee board and improve. We need to help improve ourselves along with her. She is not Santa Claus.
And on that, I'll give it right back over to Dr. Coakley. I would love to work alongside all of you, elbow to elbow. In fact, Coach Brown and I, sorry, Coach Brown and I going to the field house right now. Let's go.
This is what they do to me at the Board of Trustees meeting, Mr. Myro said, because I talk too much when we're in that meeting. They take the mic from me. I have to do that at times. But this is important. Before you leave. So before I came into this department, I was a teacher, assistant principal, and the one thing that I know is that you can spend all weekend creating lesson plans, but when your scholars show up, you might need to throw the lesson plans that you planned away and adjust for the audience that has arrived in your classroom today. So we're going to adjust at this moment. I don't want anyone to leave, because one of the things that we continuously hear, Ms. Demaya Robeson, we talked about this, is we don't really know what in Charleston County School District for the rural communities. So I really have brought some all-stars out here today. The agenda that's on your table, just go ahead and turn that over. Don't even worry about what it says, because we're going to adjust at this moment. And I'm going to ask that our CCSD district leaders just come stand to the front so that we can see you front and center. We're going to introduce those district leaders and departments to you so you can understand the services that are really here for your area. So student support services, school choice. So let me start calling you guys out. Come on up here. Ms. McIntyre, come on up, guys. Come on up. Mr. Schroederman, I think, just left out because they have another appointment, but we want to make sure that we identify some folks. Come on up. Department of School Support folks, please come on up. Come on up to the front for me. Watch this yellow cord. So what we're going to quickly do is make sure that each department or lead just quickly go over the things that you need to know are in the district. And a lot of the things that you guys have already asked about tonight, these folks are here to make sure that we provide the support. So I'm going to start with me. So I'm Dr. Shavonna Coakley again. I'm the Executive Director of School Support and Community Engagement. Yes, sir. I was going to tell you hello afterwards. It's good to see you. I told you we work hard after this camp. So in the School Support Community Engagement, everybody that you see with the McDonald's, DOS shirt on, y'all, they forced me to wear this shirt. When I was growing up, I had to work at McDonald's in the daytime, and I worked at Fazoli's at night just to get through college, right, Mommy? That's my mommy over there, y'all. So McDonald's in the morning and Fazoli's at night. And when they came to me and said, "You gonna wear a shirt with a label?" I said, "That's McDonald's. What you talking about?" So everybody that you see with these fancy shirt on, we work in School Support and Community Engagement. Miss Talisha Drayton, she oversees attendance. Under the umbrella of attendance, we have truancy, chronic absenteeism. But it's not where we're coming after families and saying, you need to do better. It's what can we do to support you and your family to make sure your scholars are in school. We also have Miss Rashida Brown. Now, Miss Rashida Brown, she's like that fly catcher. Whatever we need, she's catching. And she's bringing us back. Where you going at? Come back. Come back. She's our discipline guru when it comes down to the database. If you all have ever had to speak with an administrator about a discipline referral or talk about coding and so forth for discipline, student hearings, our constituent boards who work directly with us on student hearing. This is Miss Rashida Brown. We have Miss Tawana Brown. Miss Tawana Brown from y'all neighborhood. Miss Tawana Brown, yes, yes, yes. So Ms. Tawana Brown, she is our alternative programs coordinator, where we work really hard to make sure our scholars who are assigned in all programs, they show up, because we don't want any student expelled. That's our mission. We do not want to expel students when they've been assigned to an all program. How do they get expelled? If they don't show up. So she's calling, she's knocking, she's emailing, she's making sure that we can get our scholars where they need to be and whatever supports we can provide. We have Ms. Richardson, who works with our scholars who are assigned to probation for monitoring and make sure our scholars don't violate those probation contracts. But we also work with community partners for whatever additional supports may be needed around making sure our scholars are successful inside the school. Because the goal is never, ever to be punitive. That's not our office. Our goal is always to be preventative and intervention. Miss McElwee, so before we got Miss McElwee, if a scholar was waiting for a hearing, guess where they stayed? Home. I heard it. Home. None under my watch. Superintendent Huggins, I went to her with an idea. Can we please keep our students on a temporary virtual placement where they can still have access to a certified teacher? They can still have access to their curriculum while they're waiting for their hearing. We want their grades to continue. We want for them to continue to get their SEL support services. Superintendent Huggins said yes. And now we have a principal on special assignment who oversees that program along with two teachers. And that's an exciting thing because our scholars don't miss a beat. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Robin Jones. Carly, hold on. Miss Ash in the back. See, I'm looking for the McDonald's shirt, y'all. Miss Ash in the back. She is our media outreach communications engagement officer. If any of you have seen those videos that we've shared out trying to get folks engaged, she's the individual who feeds into my shenanigans, okay? I sent her text early morning. I got a bright idea. She goes, I'm listening. And then I share the idea. She goes, let's do it. And then we do it together. Our flyers, the media outreach, and anything that we need to get out to our communities, because she understands the goal is what may work for North Charleston may not work for the rural area. I don't want a one-size-fits-all. And she makes sure that she does that for me. So let me turn this over to Ms. Shaw.
Hey, good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to let you know that I serve as the District 23 Superintendent's Liaison, so I'm out at District 23 meetings. And we do have an alternate case that sometimes I cannot be here, but for the most part, that I am the liaison for the District 23 board for the superintendent. In my role, I serve as Executive Director of School Choice. Now, what is School Choice? Yes, we do have more choices than any place in the world. Charleston has a lot of choices, but in our communities, we have the district magnets. I think in D23 we have Ellington, where students might apply from other areas to come. We don't promote leaving your base school. We believe what your community is the strongest advocates for you. But across this district, we have about 34 choices, and we also have community. Countywide magnets, and we have constituent magnets. We also work with the charter world, so we have 9 authorized charters. We also, not to be confused with the virtual temporary, we also offer the full-time virtual option through a shared services model that came out of COVID, but it continues for some families because there are families that have need for a continued full-time virtual option for their students, whether it's because of medical reason or whatever the reason is. We've had about 100 seats through that model. We also work with all the schools for content credit recovery options. We do have students who may need an opportunity to recover a course if were not successful the first time. So we provide all of those services with certified counselors who work with all the schools. We also offer I want to say close to, Dr. Coakley has mentioned, we do work sometimes with high schools that offer full-time virtual options for students, and that is a very unique situation. We work with the principals because there may be reasons. But we already talked about how we can see a possibility of collaboration. We are a partner in the state of South Carolina. We have what we call Virtual Charleston, where we build our own courses and deliver them through virtual teachers, but students may need an extra class to stay on that graduation track. And then we also use virtual SC virtual, courses that are offered through the state of South Carolina. We buy seats, we have teachers, and they serve students. Again, it's normally a one-off. I need this course so I can stay in the choir, because I need this extra course so I can stay in the band. So that they can continue to participate in some of those extracurricular programs and some of those elective courses, because that might be their career interest. So I won't drag on, and then we also offer transfers, which we do not promote. We do not promote leaving your community, but it is out there. It is something we have in Charleston as an option, because sometimes families want to keep their children closer to them where they work. That's it.
I'm in awe. That's amazing. I'm Lisa Allison. I'm the Executive Director for the Department of Student Supports. I've actually get to share office space with Dr. Coakley and the Department of School Supports. So we work very closely together. I am a school psychologist, a proud school psychologist. I believe in the science of reading. I have worked in the literacy department, helping children learn how to read. I also know that no student can learn to read if they do not feel safe at school, if they do not feel like they belong in the classroom, in the school environment that they're in, and if they do not know that there are adults surrounding them who care about them and have strong relationships with them. And if they know that their family is connected to those adults. And so our department is committed to all of that, working with the whole child so that they can be academically successful because they feel safe, they feel supported, they feel loved, and that families know how to navigate a very challenging system in the community for supports. That could be health supports, mental health supports, special education supports, whatever the need is. And we do that, our team does that with love, with dignity, with meeting families where they are, with meeting students with where they are, from preschool, Head Start, 3-year-olds, all the way up to what I have now, which I can't even believe. I might start crying. He's going to college next year. Let's hope. That's where he's supposed to go. A 12th grader, all the way through. It takes a lot. It takes everybody, all of us. So that is the proud work of our department. Happy to talk with anyone outside about it. But some of the people in our department are our school counselors. We love our school counselors. Our school psychs, our social workers, our mental health and wellness coaches, our homebound office, and a lot of other people committed to helping your babies right where they are. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so as we close out and ask if there are any final questions, I want to tell you all why these events are so important for me. These events are important for me because I attended Charleston County School District schools as a student myself. I attended Shakora Elementary, which is a Title I school. And then from Shakora Elementary, we moved to Normandy II Middle School, which is now Military Magnet School. Normandy II Middle School was a Title I school. And then I graduated from the best best high school in Charleston County School District, North Charleston High School, which is also a Title I school. Watch myself. Listen, I don't know what my parents were thinking because they were bulldogs. They graduated from Burke High School. But we went through everything in North Charleston. And so the rivalry in our house was real growing up. So much fun. It was so much fun. But here's the deal. Those schools were Title I schools, but we also were a Title I family. My mom and dad started really young having children. So we had to move through that process of, okay, we're going to live probably not in the best of areas, but we had the best home. I didn't understand that we were poor. I didn't understand that I spoke Gullah Geechee. I didn't understand why I never did well on those assessments that were given to me every year. And they would put me in a reading lab group, a reading one-on-one group. We had books like Moonbeam and Sunshine, and I never could get into those groups. I'm telling my age. I know it. And every day, the computer lab teacher, Miss Fugaru, I remember her name, would come and pick me up, and I would be trailing down the hallway, going to the math lab while all the other children stayed behind to learn what the teacher had to give. And when I got to the math lab and the reading lab class, guess what I turned into? An extra teacher in the classroom because there were no other students in the classroom who even met my needs. I was higher than the other students. And then I went off to college. I failed the reading assessment when you enter. I failed the math assessment when we enter. So I had to take reading 101. I had to take math 101. In college, you don't get credits for none of those classes. So for the first semester, I just sat there auditing, right? And then I had a teacher who looked at me and she said, "Girl, you gotta get you bad. You will never student teach until you learn how to speak proper English. I didn't even know what Galagichi meant. I'm being honest with you. That was the first time I had heard it. And so I went to college Monday through Friday, and on Saturdays, I went to Blanche Sherrill's house. That was my professor. And she taught me how to code switch. She taught me how to write the opposite of how I would speak. My cheeks hurt, my tongue hurt, everything would hurt, and it still hurts. I can't wait until we get out here so I can get to my car and go. Now, what we talk about now, y'all? Ain't no way I just stood up there and did all that. Now I got nothing else to do. I got to go. Because that's what I know. But nobody taught me that until I got to Salisbury, North Carolina. And on the end of 701 West Monroe was the head Ku Klux Klan member. Talk about a shock. Then when it came down to the teacher exam, I failed it. Which part y'all think I failed? The writing! I was still writing like I talk. Okay. Y'all saying I'm dumb still. Gotcha. Point check. Went back to Miss Blanche Sherrill. Please teach me how to write like them people. Teach me. Show me how to write like them people. And she told me. She said, you have to write everything that you go down, is, all this other stuff. Put the window up, down the window. We don't do that. Fix it. Went back again and took the second test and passed it. Flying colors. Doing the strategies that she taught me. Staying in North Carolina, decided I wasn't coming back to South Carolina to learn anything else. I'm just going to stay in North Carolina. And did everything in North Carolina. And then I told my mom I wasn't coming back to South Carolina. I'm just going to stay in North Carolina. I thought I was home free. Until one night there was a boom, boom, boom on my apartment door. And my mama and my aunt showed up in a U-Haul truck. And they said, your daddy said he didn't send you here to stay in North Carolina. It's time for you to come home. And in the rain, they packed that U-Haul truck out. My mama and my aunt. Talk about Harriet Tubman. And we drove all the way from Salisbury, North Carolina to Charleston in the rain. My mama, she can admit to this now. All my hair fell out when I came back to Charleston. I was stressed. But you know where I went at? I went knocking on Ronald E. McNair's door. Ronald E. McNair Elementary. The principal was Patty Schaefer. She was my principal as a child. She looked at me and I said, do you know who I am? And she said, Shavonna. I said, that's me. I said, I came back to teach. Hire me. That year I started. And everything I learned in North Carolina, I turnkeyed it in South Carolina. First year, teacher, but I was lead teacher. Working on curriculum, creating assessments as a first-year teacher in the Charleston County School District. You can't tell me it can't be done for our scholars, because it can. It can. Now here I stand with a doctoral degree, but everything I went through was worth it. There are scholars in Charleston County School District who are yearning for more. We need you to know, in this rural community, we have more to give. And we will give more because you saw the people who stood up before you. And these are some dedicated, hardworking people. Everywhere we've been this year, they've been riding with me. Y'all, we're going downtown. We're going Mount Pleasant. We're going North Charleston. We're going into the rural area. Miss Allison, yes, yes, yes. Superintendent Huggins, yes, yes, yes. They really support my shenanigans, y'all. My mama, my family. I'm going here. Come on. I'm going to do a gun violence rally. Yes. This team. Y'all, come on. We need to do this. Yes, yes. I don't get paid for that. I get paid to do school discipline. Everything that you see us doing is out of our hearts. That's the intent behind what we want. That's what we want for you all. And then the last thing I want to remind you, y'all heard about all of the deficiencies I told y'all I had? I had 3 children. What do you think happened? I am too ashamed. All of them came with the same deficiencies. All of them. One with a 504 plan, IEP. But guess what? I already knew what to do because their mom and daddy the same way. My 504 plan student graduated from high school last year with a whole lot of additional credits. He took his first plane ride today, y'all. His first. Military. And North Carolina A&T. It's possible. The boy's so independent, I told him he need to move out, don't come back. Because we did well. Right, Mr. Aiken? Didn't I tell him? The 2 IEP students, they're in 11th grade. I met with the guidance counselor with them about a month and a half ago, and she said to them, do y'all want early out or y'all want to come in late next year? Because you only need 1 class. 1. Y'all heard Ms. Jones talk about those virtual programs, I had them in there every summer. That slip slide learning, it wasn't going to happen with them. This is what we have to do for our children. To whom much is given, much is required. What we do unto the least of them, we also do unto him. But we really do it to ourselves too, right? So when we know, then we have to make sure we're children. You guys have received a lot of information this evening. Now, even though my boys didn't take the early out nor the late arrival, they said they stay in school every day, all day next year. But I can wake up next year knowing they're doing it because they want to, not because they have to. And that's what we want for the children of D23, D8, which is the new thing, right? We want our children coming to school not because they have to, but because they want to. And we're going to continue to do that with partnerships like your constituent board members who are sitting at this table, with your mayor who's here. We have not had a mayor, Ms. Roberson. Let me tell you, not one mayor has attended our SPaCE events. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. This is where the heart is, and this is intentional. Thank you. Thank you so much for showing up this evening. Thank you, councilmen, for showing up this evening. Thank you, constituent board members. Thank you, principals. Thank you for assistant principals. Thank you, teachers. Thank you, staff members, support staff members. Thank you. What questions did we not answer tonight? We normally close with, did you hear the things that you thought you wouldn't hear, or did you feel like you received what you wanted to come out here and receive tonight? And we typically do that with a thumbs up if yes, thumbs to the side if you feel like you got some of it, thumbs down, y'all need to try a little harder. So thumbs up if we heard what we wanted to hear, thumbs to the side, yeah, got a little something. Thumbs down, let's try a little harder. All right? Thing that you asked, those questions, we post them. We post them on the CCSD website DOS page because we're just that transparent. And we give everybody about 3 to 4 days to respond to the questions. So you'll see the questions posted along with the answers. Please, you can go to CCSD page and then go to the Department of School Support in about a week, and you will see all the questions with the responses on that page. That is how transparent we are about reimagining how we see and feel in Charleston County School District. And then I'll end with this. Regardless of what's going on in our district, I would ask that we all continue to rise above the noise. Because when we continue to engage, there's somebody who's suffering, and it ain't us. The Bible also talks about this too shall pass. But while we're waiting for things to pass, and we're not doing what we're supposed to do for children, then those children stay still while we keep passing them by. So help us, help Ms. Roberson, help your school leaders, and making sure that we are being held accountable for doing the very best we are supposed to do for children. And when we're not, let's have honest conversations about it and give us suggestions. My team know, don't come to me with a problem if you don't have a solution. Because obviously I've gotten it wrong and I need your help. Can we agree to that? Thank you so much. I will thank you for being here. I'll stay around if anyone has any additional questions. But if not, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Roberson. Thank you so much for getting your people out here. Our people, CCSD's people, the children. Thank you so much. Thank you. We have extra food. Someone lost their AirPod. It's white. If that's you, it's at the table. We don't have any keys this go round, but white AirPod. We do have additional food. Yes.
You know, since you mentioned that the mayor is here, I just want to